Welcome to the Clarity Coach Podcast with Rockie Lee, strategic intervention coach, specializing with singles and couples, helping them find clarity in life, in relationships, and in personal development. And now, here's your host.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 19 of Clarity Coach Love Talks. And again, I have my co-host here, Kimberly, who'll be joining us in this conversation today. And we are shifting gears today. We're actually going to be changing from conversations about marriage to conversations about singles. So yes, if you are single, you're listening right now, this episode is going to be for you. It's all things for singles.
Hi there, Rocky, and hello to all our listeners. Today we are talking about why singles are finding it hard to fall in love and get married. So, hey, Rocky, what are two things that are getting in the way of singles from finding love?
Ooh, love this question. Really simply put, these two things are it. Playing it safe and looking for love. That's a simple answer on what's getting in the way of singles finding love. And I know it sounds really crazy, so let me just qualify this right before everybody tunes out. Okay?
Yeah, that was a little too straightforward.
So let me qualify this. So number one, playing it safe. I have found increasingly that single people in our generation right now, in our current culture, they're starting to play life safely. In terms of relationships, they're really trying to play it safely. And what I keep hearing are singles that say, well, I don't really need marriage. I really don't need anybody to complete me. Like I hear all of these common things that we quite say. And I understand.
Like yesterday?
Yeah.
And you just gave me a funny look and didn't say anything.
I did. And you know, this is an example of all of you listeners, is that I do get this quite often. And here's my thing about that. You know, it's wonderful that we can get ourselves as an individual to a state where we are fully loving and accepting ourselves for who we are. But that's actually just playing safe when we say that we don't need anybody else. Because the real growth comes by me actually being in a committed relationship where I'm allowing somebody to legitimately push my buttons, because I'm actually not going to grow until that takes place. So playing safe is one of the key areas that's showing up, that's causing singles to really struggle in finding love. Now, one of the other ways that playing safe actually shows up in a single's life is when we double down our standards, right? So it's almost like there's a fear inside of singles where they're like, well, if I just like don't look for or shoot high, right? If I just look for somebody a little bit of lower standard, then I might not get hurt, right? Or they might love me longer, right? It's kind of what I hear quite often. And again, that's playing safe again. And playing safe that way actually does the reverse, right? It gets singles into a lot more hurt and pain. So that's really one way that is getting in the way of singles falling in love. Now, the other one that I said is actually looking for love. And that sounds completely ridiculous. Mm-hmm. So for sure, I'm going to qualify this one here. So our main common belief, and a lot of it comes out of the movies and TV shows that we watch from Hollywood, right? Mm-hmm. Is that we think we should be looking for love. And I would argue that point by saying you should not be looking for love, because that's not what you're really looking for. If you want actual marriage, if you want to truly fall in love, where that loving relationship leads to marriage, you're actually not looking for love. You're looking for commitment and responsibility. That's actually what you're looking for. So
that makes a lot of sense.
Right? So you're looking for somebody who's willing to commit to you to the same goals and who's upfront with it. Right? What you don't want to do is start a loving relationship with somebody and you're not even in agreement with the goals. And the person, when you ask them whether they're committed, they give you that flaky answer like, well, I don't know. I'm kind of good on my own right now. And I really don't know. Like, that's really not the person you should be opening your heart up to. So you're really looking for commitment and responsibility. And I'm going to qualify this even more as we go through this episode. But just for now, to answer this question, don't look for love. That's getting you into trouble right now. So look for commitment and responsibility. Particularly, you're looking for somebody who's willing to be upfront with you, who share the same goals of commitment and what it means. They're willing to commit to the same values of what you guys want in marriage and a family. And you're looking for a person who wants to be fully committed to you, like not half-ass it, right?
Mhm.
Not hiding it. He or she's going to be like, yes, I'm all in, right? Or I'm all out, right? Because
Yeah.
either of those options are great, right?
Not
So
I'm all in, but I won't marry you.
exactly, right? So that's what you don't want. Now, here's the other little tidbit of information I'm going to add in here. Uh, the reason why you're not really looking for love is because, truth be told, you're looking for intimacy. That's very different from love.
Mm.
And intimacy can only come through commitment and responsibility. Love can just come with nothing involved at all. Like, there's no cost to it. But intimacy, that comes purely through commitment and responsibility.
So is wanting a relationship the same thing as wanting marriage?
No, it's not. I do get this question quite a lot, and singles are really confused when I answer them this. So here's the best way that I can answer this question, all right? So think about like the word car, right? An automobile, right? A car. So if I say to you, Kim, hey, I really want to buy a new car. And your response to me is like, oh, awesome, Rocky. All right, what are you gonna get? And my response is like, I don't know. Well, I'll buy some. Okay,
Mhm.
so that's what a relationship is like. So when I hear somebody say, "Oh, I want a relationship," that tells me nothing. That's a
Mm.
category.
Yeah.
It's like me just simply saying, "I just want to buy a car." But I'm not really defining for you, oh, do I want a sports car? Do I want a 4x4? Do I want an off-roader? Do I want an RV? Like, those are the genres of cars, just like in a relationship. The genre of relationships would be, do you want dating, companionship, or marriage? So to answer our question here, relationship, like wanting a relationship, is not the same as wanting marriage. So relationship is just kind of like a category. What you want to do is understand, like, in that category of a relationship, what type of relationship am I wanting? So if you want marriage, that's actually the type of relationship that you want.
Okay. So something you touched on a couple minutes ago, actually, it's nice to know the difference between this. You were saying, like, you were talking about the difference between commitment and intimacy versus love and falling in love. So why is it important to look for commitment first instead of love first? Because usually people act on, oh, I think I'm in love with them.
Mm-hmm. So when we are looking for love, what we do is what I call the leapfrog technique, right? The leapfrog method. And we kind of bought into this again based on how we've perceived education, right? So the leapfrog method is kind of like looking at it from like, oh, here's elementary school, I'm going to graduate, and then I'm going to go to high school, and then I'm going to graduate, and I'm going to go to university, right? So that's the leapfrog method. So we typically use this process when we look at the ideas of dating, companionship, and marriage. We're thinking that this is a progression of life, right? So what we normally do is we find somebody that we fall in love with, and we start dating them, and we date them for a few years, and oh, it's wonderful, it's become a companionship. And then we date a little bit more longer with a little bit more intensity, and maybe we even move in with each other, and hopefully this will all lead to marriage. So that's how we treat this process when we're just looking for love. We're trying to progress through stages. My argument is that when I say that there's three different types of relationships, there's dating, companionship, and marriage. what I'm really saying is that these three types of relationships are actually predicated upon a percentage of commitment and responsibility. And underneath each of these percentages of commitment and responsibility, there is going to be an archetype of a type of person that will equate with each of these percentages. So, as an example, dating is 0% commitment and responsibility. Companionship would be 50% commitment and responsibility. And of course, marriage is 100% commitment and responsibility. So here's the tension to this. If I date somebody in the dating category, this person is going to be a person who wants 0% commitment and responsibility to me. So it's a type of person, right? On the other hand, if I date somebody who's in the companionship category, I'm actually dating somebody who only desires to have 50% commitment and responsibility to me, no more than that, right? And then if I get into a relationship and marry somebody, or I'm dating and I find somebody who is wanting marriage just like me, that means this person and I, we are totally wanting to give 100% commitment and responsibility. So what I've just laid out to you are the types of people that qualify for that category. Now, here's where the rub is. If I date somebody in a dating category that wants only 0% responsibility and commitment to me, if I date that person 5 years from now, it doesn't guarantee me at all whether this person wants more commitment or not. In fact, that person was already up front saying, I don't want anything more. So what it does is it becomes this fearful process of like, well, okay, I'm just going to keep dating this person and I hope it turns into marriage.
Yeah, you don't know when they're going to leave or not. That's terrifying. That's not a healthy way to be.
Exactly. And it's the same thing that would happen if I date somebody who is upfront with me and tells me, I only want to be 50% commitment, committed to you and responsible to you. Well, what if after 5 years of dating, this person is still the same? And the reality is they are going to be the same. They're not going to change, right? The worst part is, what if that person decides to take a leap of faith, gets married to you? If they actually are so committed to only being 50%, guess what kind of marriage you're going to have? You're going to have a partner, a spouse, who will only give you 50% commitment and responsibility and focus and energy, but trying to play the game of 100% commitment. So that's the danger, right? So what you want to do is don't look for love. Don't do this leapfrog business. Decide the highest level of commitment that you want. Go after the people that are qualified in that category.
So how would a single person on their own, just cruising around, trying to find somebody, how would they actually determine who would be the right fit?
Yeah. So here's how I'll answer that question. Imagine, like, Kimberly, you and I feel like in our town, our city, we don't have enough A&W restaurants, right? So we both decide to, like, all right, let's open one. But here's the problem. You and I have the intelligence to run a restaurant or to run the business side of it, but we don't really have the restauranting experience, right? To be able to handle the cooking and the timing of getting food out and food safety and all of that stuff that goes into running a restaurant. So you and I would need to hire a general manager, right? So what we would do is we would come up together with 10 criteria that we both want, so that we can ensure that we've found like the best general manager, right? So that's how we would figure it out. First, we would put in an ad, and then we would get 50 resumes in. So here's the problem. If we get 50 resumes in, do I want to interview all 50 people? Or do I want to narrow it down first to, like, say 5 people who are the best applicants based on these 10 requirements, and then interview those 5? So this is like my answer to this question. First of all, is figure out what you need in a relationship not what you want in a person.
So like
So
established qualifiers.
exactly. So in our case, we've already determined we want a general manager. Just like in a dating scenario, I should have already decided, do I want marriage, companionship, or dating, right? So based on that category, I can now come up with a realistic set of qualities that this person needs to be qualified for in order for me to date them. So as a interview process would go on, we would have these 10 qualities, and out of that, we can now decide, well, here are the 5 best candidates. And that's essentially what you're doing as a single person, is you're needing to come up with pre-qualifiers that will help you realize, okay, this person's got enough of the right qualities that if we started dating, we could really build a healthy relationship on those qualities. So that's really the main key. Decide what you want first, the type of relationship, and then decide what qualities do you need to have the healthiest relationship possible with that person.
Okay, so I'm single. I've got my qualifiers. I'm meeting people, I'm dating, and I meet somebody who seems like the right fit. Now, what do I do once I find a person who seems to be the right fit? Like, what are the next steps there?
Mm-hmm. So here are 3 things that a single person, if you found somebody that you think is qualified, here are basically 3 things that you can do like right away to help guide you to a healthier relationship in the dating stage. Okay. So number 1, you should always be upfront with intentions. So I think it's really silly of us to go on these amazing dating opportunities with somebody, but we're never upfront with our intention, right? That would be kind of like me going to a car dealership and I step into a Ferrari dealership and I'm like, oh, I love this car, this color, and the mag wheels, and the whole time, really, my intention is I need a minivan.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, looking at this amazing Ferrari. And then it's not
Yeah.
till like, you know, 4 interviews later where we go through the paperwork and the processing and the financing that I finally blurt out, hey, I just have a question. Do you have another car, like another Ferrari,
Yeah.
same color, but it's about like 8 feet longer and it's got sliding doors?
Feels nice, but doesn't right
Exactly. And this is kind of like what we do in our dating process, is that we're never upfront.
That's true.
And it's
Yeah.
it's far better to just be upfront on the first date, like, hey, just before we dive into and get really all tangled up with our emotions, I just want to be upfront. I'm really looking for somebody who really, really wants marriage just as much as I do. Right. So
Mhm.
clarify your intentions. Number 2, once you start getting into that dating process with this person, set a timeline. And here's my general rule of thumb. Somewhere between 6 months to 1 year, you should actually know whether this person is the right fit for you. I would tend to say that everybody typically knows within the first month, but usually we're in complete denial.
Yeah.
So we don't listen to our gut instinct, so we drag it out for 6 months. So I
Yeah.
would say somewhere between 6 months and a year. Set a timeline that maximum within 1 year, I need to make a decision, yay or nay, is this person the right fit for me? And don't waste your time past a year. So if you get to a year and you realize, like, I still can't answer this question, it's most likely a no. This
Yeah.
person is not the
Yeah.
right fit for you,
Yeah, you
right?
should. Yeah. Yeah.
So don't waste your time. End the relationship, because it's far easier to get back together a year later than to keep dragging out a relationship where you're wasting your time and energy, right?
Mhm.
So that
Then
would that would be the
resentment
second thing.
develops too, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that would be the second thing that I would recommend. And number 3, the biggest thing of all, slow down.
Mm.
Don't be in a rush. Like, I think it's crazy when I hear single people wanting to get so physical so fast, that the whole relationship in the dating stage was built off of the physicalness and not actually developing a real relationship first.
Yeah,
So
that's the standard seems to be now.
yeah, right. So go super slow. Like this is not even me trying to preach abstinence. This is not that conversation. This is just me trying to be really honest and real with you. Because in marriage, guess what? 2/3 of your life is going to be mundane,
Hmm.
right? So the 1/3 of your life is going to be all the wonderful, expensive dinners and the dating and the kissing and the sunsets.
Yeah.
But
You
that's
can't
not
keep
all
up
the
that pace. That's the
exactly.
thing.
That's
You
not
date fast. You can't keep that pace up past like the
exactly.
3-month mark. You start scrambling. Oh, what do I do next? What do we do next? I gotta like top what I did last week and everything like that. You're not actually enjoying each other as people. You're just trying to
That's
impress the other, and now
that's
you've
right.
wasted all of this time and energy and money, and it was never bound to work in the first place.
Exactly. Right. So that's the 1/3 of our life. So build your dating stage with this person super slow. Build it to understand, are we even really compatible for the
Mhm.
2/3 of our life, which is going to be about mundane things like cooking dinner and laundry and paying bills and dealing with
Find out if they
stress
load the
and
dishwasher before
work and
you get
yeah,
into the relationship.
exactly. Yeah, is this person going to pick up their socks
Where do
when they
they
come
put the
home?
dishes when we're done eating? That is that's a huge thing. Does it go
Exactly.
on the counter? Does it go in the sink? Does it go in the dishwasher? That's a qualifier, I feel. It should
There
be a
you go.
qualifier.
There you go, listeners. Right there. There's your qualifier. So, anyways, those would be the things that I would recommend.
Yeah. Okay. I see we're coming up to a commercial break, but we will be back in just a minute.
More with Rockie Lee, strategic intervention coach and host of the Clarity Coach podcast after this.
Having clarity in our lives is of the utmost importance. Clarity is the pathway to change, the juice that gets us up in the morning, the purpose that inspires us to strive for something greater. Clarity is also the ability to see things in a different way than how we believe them to be, giving us options to the possibilities that surround us. Clarity gives us the courage to bring change to the issues that hinder us from believing for a better tomorrow. Rockie Lee is a strategic intervention coach and will help you find clarity in life, in relationships, and in personal development. For more information on Clarity Coach workshops or to book a coaching session with Rockie Lee, call us at 778-883-7203. That's 778-883-7203. Or visit us online at www.claritycoach.ca/bookings. That's www.claritycoach.ca/bookings.
Now, back to Rockie Lee, strategic intervention coach and host of the Clarity Coach podcast.
Hi there, everyone. We're back here with Rockie Lee. Rockie, just before the commercial break, you mentioned taking things slow in a new relationship. Now, why do you recommend singles do that?
3 reasons. Number 1, physicalness clouds judgment. It clouds sound judgment. And I cannot begin to tell you how many times I've had single people heartbroken or stuck in a relationship that has been so abusive. And they've stayed because the physicalness felt so good and so safe and comforting, but the person was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
So when we allow physicalness to be a primary driver in our dating stage, it clouds sound judgment. So that's the number 1 thing. Number 2, when you allow physicalness to come into a big part of this process, you set yourself up for fail by focusing on the physical with each other without a commitment. So here's a really good example in real time. So recently, here's Kim Kardashian dating this comedian, David. I can't remember his name, but what I find interesting when I browse through all the news feeds, everybody's talking about the shock of the breakup and everything. And in my mind, the
It
real
was a rebound. Like,
yeah,
Kimberly,
well,
please
in my
stop.
now, okay, so for me, I don't know if it's a rebound, but here's my position. I'm not surprised that there was a breakup because the real conversation in this should have been how two people decided to be physical with each other without a commitment.
Yeah.
It was bound to happen. So that
Mhm.
to me is like a major issue when we set ourselves up for fail by being physical, but there's no conversation and no commitment at all. And this leads to my third point. When we leverage our dating stage with a lot of physicalness, what we end up doing is we end up playing house with each other. And here's the danger of that. The minute we play house with each other, we end up experiencing things that we should have never experienced in a dating situation. And ironically, these things that we experienced in a dating situation because we're playing house, we actually are not even going to experience that when we get married. Those things don't even show up. So
Hmm.
we actually cause a lot of trauma and a lot of hurt to ourselves as we start to play house without a real genuine commitment. So that's my recommendation for singles. Take it slow, guys. Take it slow. There's no rush to this.
So it's almost like giving up things for free in the beginning without like an established commitment, right?
That's right. Yeah. So sexual intimacy should never ever be given away for free, right? It's just not meant to be a free thing to give away.
Yeah, I agree on that one. It's hard for people though. That's the thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like usually the physical attraction and everything is what happens first, and then people get ahead of themselves, and then they risk the commitment for what feels good right now, right?
That's right.
So good thing to establish those qualifiers and follow the advice that you're giving for sure.
That's right.
So what's one thing that singles could do to prepare themselves for a relationship? So going into this, instead of like getting ahead of yourself and giving up the goods and just getting in this whirlwind romance without any commitment, or I don't want to use the word expectations because we went over that a couple episodes ago, but like your values, like without having those in place.
Yeah.
What's something that singles can do to prepare themselves for a relationship?
Yeah, there's three things that you guys want to think about. So number one, you want to deal with your internal junk, right? Like that's the most important thing. And we all have it. Whether we want to believe that or not, or accept it, or whether we even want to see it or not, the reality is we all, as human beings, we all have inner junk. And what I mean by that is we all have old patterns and behaviors built from fears and insecurities, and they spill out as unrealistic expectations and self-worth issues. And I tell you what, you got to deal with this stuff. You've really got to address this. So number one, heal. Spend lots of time healing your internal self. Number two, learn how to forgive. You got to do this because if you don't learn how to forgive, you're going to really be trapped in either blaming somebody or you're going to be trapped in blaming yourself, right? So get these two things dealt with. And I mean, the whole ad age saying is true. Like, you will bring in your junk to your next relationship.
Yeah, that's inevitable. You can't just
Yeah, right. So there's just no way around that. So that one thing right there, these two issues of like healing and forgiveness, man, spend lots of time preparing yourself in that area before you get into a relationship.
Mhm. We're almost out of time. So, Rocky, tell me, what advice from everything that you've shared today, what's like one big, solid piece of single advice that you would give to singles who are listening today?
Well, if you truly want a meaningful, loving, healthy relationship, start by choosing the highest form of commitment, which is marriage. Like, don't lower your standards. Look for individuals who are equally as committed as you are to marriage, right? Go for those people, attract those people, right? And if you're not dating yet, um, or at least if there's nobody that you feel like is around, like your sphere, right, of influence, or your community, start by developing a profile. So get a profile done that will show you what key needs you must have so that you can have a really healthy marriage. Now, if you would like to do this, I have my own profiling system that my single clients go through with me. It's quite successful. Many of them end up falling in love, and they come back and do premarital with me. So if you are interested in actually getting a really great profile done where it's based on what you need for a healthy marriage, just reach out to me. Send me an email at info@claritycoach.ca. So that's info@claritycoach.ca, and hit me up with a request, and I'll get back to you on how you can get one done. So do that. Now, if you are dating already, if you're dating somebody right now as you're listening to this episode, if that person that you are dating, okay, now this is like real wisdom. This came from my spiritual grandmother here. So you got to listen up to this. This is going to pay dividends for all of you listeners. So if you're dating somebody right now, and if that person is not everything that you want them to be right now, don't marry them.
Yeah.
Because after marriage, they're not changing. So I know that we all think that we're going to be like amazing creatures and we're going to change all our habits just because we love this person so much. Nope, you're not. You're going to be able to make it a little bit more palatable for your partner, but you will still essentially be the same. And that goes for this person that you're dating. So they're not really going to change. So if they're not exactly the way that you want them right now, end the relationship, right? Don't marry them, okay? Because it's not going to change, all right? So make a decision. Either you're going to go all in and be willing to not ever change these things that you don't like about that person, or make the decision that I can't handle this and I really need to stop this because this habit or pattern or characteristic isn't going to change when we get married and I can't handle that.
Yeah.
So
Marriage
that would be
is
my two advice.
Something or change something.
Yeah.
Marriage is the commitment you're making to the correct person. Right?
Exactly.
All right. Well, we're up against the clock now. Run out of time, unfortunately, but thank you so much for shifting the conversation to singles. It's always interesting. We definitely talk a lot about marriages and relationships, but it's good to focus on the single people out there for sure. Thank you so much for today's conversation. Just a reminder to our listeners that Rockie is available for free consultation. Just visit him at claritycoach.ca to book an appointment, and tell us where else we can find you online, Rockie.
Well, you can find all my information at claritycoach.ca/love talks, and you can reach me by email and by phone call if you'd like. And I'd love to support you guys wherever you guys are at in your dating relationship.
Thanks again, Rockie. I'll catch you guys all on the next episode of Love Talks, where Rockie talks about the top questions from couples seeking help. So shifting back to people who are currently in a relationship, that will be full of a lot of information for you. Rockie, you're having a guest on for that episode as well, correct?
Yeah, I am.
All right. Perfect. So a little bit of a switch up. I'll be taking that episode off so you guys can get some fresh content with some new perspectives. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode, and get in touch with Rockie anytime for a free consultation at claritycoach.ca.
Thanks for listening to the Clarity Coach Podcast with Rockie Lee, Strategic Intervention Coach. If you have any questions regarding Clarity Coach or the Clarity Coach workshops, please call us at 778-883-7203. That's 778-883-7203. And visit us online at www.claritycoach.ca. That's www.claritycoach.ca.